One of the things the MDR is aimed at is to make the risk involved with the use of medical devices as low as possible. That doesn't mean it is forbidden to have risks attached to your device. As a matter of fact, it's rather impossible to not have any risks at all, because, well, that's life. Even if you use a TV, the risk of it short-circuiting and catching fire has, thanks to regulations and smart technological solutions, been made extremely small. But it could still happen in a case of bad luck or in an unintended situation. Yet you still use the TV because you want to watch your movie very much and are willing to accept that very tiny risk and trust for it to not happen. For any medical device to be considered safe enough by the MDR, one of the major things to consider is that the purpose and benefit of using the device must outweigh the risks attached to it. That is why a scalpel is allowed to have a razor-sharp edge, but a stethoscope isn't.
And that is why it is allowed to shoot a bit of harmful radioactive radiation at people for making X-ray pictures. Because without the X-ray images, we can't diagnose and treat the patient properly. So the very small risk of getting ill from a very small dose is outweighed by the consequences of not making the X-rays.
But what is risk? Risk is defined as the numerical product of the likelihood of a harm, something bad, to occur, and the severity of the harm. So if something is very likely to happen, but the consequences are not severe at all, the risk is still very low. And the other way around, if something is so unlikely to happen that it occurs once in 1,000 times the device is used, but if it happens, the patient will die, the risk could still be very high. This would be, for example, if we look at a defibrillator that is very well built and not used often, but in very rare situations it might refuse to fire the electric shock if the user doesn't put enough pressure on the patches. And even then, this risk might be acceptable, because without the defibrillator, the patient would definitely die. Later, we will talk more about what harm and severity are, and how we can analyze and estimate risk, and how you, as a supplier, could reduce the risks related to your medical device. But for now, the most important thing to remember is that the MDR requires you, the manufacturer, to minimize the risks involved with your device to the extent that the residual risk is acceptable and is outweighed by the benefits of using your device.